Hello and welcome. This is LinkedIn2 and this is also stage number 1 in our How to Draft series. If you have missed the first stage, stage 0, where I am talking about champion colors and their meaning, click one of the buttons in either of these corners and it will bring you there and you see a detailed explanation about the colors of champions. This is our first part though, where we begin to prepare for our big moment, the draft. In this preparation there are many questions that might come to mind. Are you the underdog? Is it a best of 5 or a best of 1? So these questions and many more I will answer in today's video. To get started, we begin with the goals of the draft. So what is that? Get a good draft? Yeah, that sounds simple, but it's absolutely not the case. So we will begin with the many things that will come at you and at us all at once here. Team building, building a good comp, which I discussed in the first stage, or stage 0. What champions do we want to play in the first place? What to ban? What will the enemy pick? And yeah, again, many things. My advice would be to separate these issues into each different packages and solving them one by one, simply just after another, then putting each pieces together like a puzzle. And then yeah, at the end, maybe you need to make some small adjustments here and there, but that would be my advice. So starting with the basic question, what does a good draft even entail? So a bit of the basic concepts for a draft that you need to look out for is starts from stable and good lanes. So this is champions with white elements in their identity or flat out counter picks in individual matchups. Next point would be item breakpoints. So yeah, for your team, examples are often the Ezreal 2 item power spike, but the question is then, how does mid and jungle look? Are they strong enough to fight? And the question and the thing that you have to keep in mind here is item power spikes, if they're staggered around the game, and yeah, they form a curve. So you're always kind of strong, but if you have really good spikes where like your mid laner and AD carry have their good items at one point in the game, that's a good spike. And if you have these huge spikes, you can force fights at these moments and make advantage of these spikes. Otherwise, yeah, you will just sit around and doodle-a-daddle a bit. Next point, power at the third Drake. So how does the game look at this point? Can you contest, or yeah, are you kind of fucked? So for this, you have to think about, yeah, how do we avoid negative situations at this point? Do you have to contest the early Drakes, or do you have to pay attention that you are not falling too far behind, that your scaling comp can be powerful at that point? Because the third Drake, with the soul being super powerful in most cases, you have to contest that, and you want to contest that in most cases. And then lastly, you want to have a cohesive team identity. This again connects to our stage 0. On color, not like full of opposing elements, too much blue and red. Yeah, that's really hurtful. For more info, again, look at either of the corners or just in the playlist, stage 0, each part here, part 1 and 2. If you want more detailed and more like relatable explanation, check part 2 of the first of stage 0, where I go over the draft between Fnatic and G2, where I explain this in exceptional more detail. As a reminder here, your comp not only has to go well in itself, but also against the enemy comp, right? They have to, yeah, click, right? Still, that doesn't sound too easy, but don't worry. Again, we will tackle each problem step by step. In this preparation phase, yeah, we will get our gear ready, that's our champions, and then how we use them, that comes in later stages. So don't worry with everything coming at you at once. Focusing on the first part, and we're going to use that as a foundation for the entire process, is the meta. You want to have a good grasp on it, know what is good, what is OP, and yeah, if there are these OP champions, you want to have them in your kit, right? Your players need to play these champions 100%. This has many benefits. Of course, they're very strong, so if you can get them, that's a good thing. And yeah, it forces the enemy to continue to ban them. And yeah, you don't have to ban them in blue side, so you can first pick them. And if the enemy is like feeling experimental and leaving them open, you can then look to pick them up and punish these experiments. Next, you should be able to look who you're playing against. So that means scouting the enemy and their strategies and everything that entails. So know what they can play, what they want to play, what their priorities are, look out for off-meta strategies that they might prepare, like check their solo queue. And yeah, you really want to avoid these off-meta stuff. Put high priority on banning or like finding like stuff that can withstand that. You don't want any variance in your play if you're the better team, right? If you're the worst team and you know that, you want to be the one that actually introduces off-meta stuff. But in the other cases, you want to avoid that. So another stuff that you can look at, what they ban, what do they pick, and when do they pick that, right? Priorities again. And then in some cases, like specific teams have like specific players that carry the team, and what do these players need to carry, right? Examples for that would be Ruler or the Genji, obviously. So yeah, make notes about the enemy and yeah, about the champions and the related information that are important to that. Then you can make two decisions depending on the level of play. In Clash, for example, I would recommend just ban out the enemy comfort picks, ban out the one-trick ponies. You don't want to invest the time, the little time that you have to learn these counter picks, because in most cases you won't be able to play them correctly, and your players, or yourself, you won't be able to master them to the degree that you can actually punish the enemy correctly. But if we approach higher levels of play, then with longer preparation time, you need to talk about how you can find punishes and counters in these picks for your players. And here at that point, I want to add on a personal note where I think how the coaches and the players should interact and what their relationship should be, especially in the actual draft on stage or in the pick and ban if you're online. I personally think the coach should be in charge and the players are like his underlings. But of course the coach is not all-knowing, in many cases he can't be. So he has to ask the players of ideas. Usually this should happen in preparation, but if there's a curveball or something that he doesn't know or forget, he has to ask. But in the end he should still have the final say in champion decisions. Him standing over the players and deliberately forming a team comp instead of each player's thinking about themselves. So I want to play now, I don't want to play scaling, I want to play aggressive. This will result with good preparation again and the teamwork, right? The players are giving correct information to the coach in a comp that is more cohesive and well-rounded. And I would really recommend this approach, because from what we have seen over the years, that a lot of players have they do have good mechanics, and they probably really do know how these matchups should go. And I mean, they have played thousands of hours, but it seems that their egos and their laziness a bit is holding them back in their drafts. There are thousands of examples, even examples that we 100% know about. So a strong guiding hand in the process of drafting with the knowledge and insights of the players. The whole teamwork that I'm looking here for is again what I have in mind for this part. So you need to communicate with your players, but they have to understand that they give you the information and then you decide, because you are the expert, you know how to draft after this series, and your players, they know how to play, but they may not know how champions correctly interact on a global scale of the Rift. So you have to be the strong man and stand your ground against the attitude and ego of the players. Now, going back to the main point here, the results of these communications and talks that you have with your players, again in the preparation phase and not really on stage, should be that you aim for answers for at least 2 champions for every enemy player that are in their comfort box, of course. Yes, if there is a very problematic player, then you need to pay more attention to that. For example, Ruler again, or Chovy from Hunger Life, right? Then you might ask, okay, why only 2 champions? So for most players, their on-stage champion pool is very, very limited. And if you exclude one-offs or situational counter picks, they're only really playing a couple of champions. An example that I've prepared here is Mad Lions, the current LEC champions. They have played 31 games so far this year, and again, excluding 1 and 2 offs, only played 23 champions. This is 4 different champions in top, 4 in jungle, 5 in mid, 4 again in AD carry, and 6 finally in support. And again, if you look at in more details, most games are being played just on 2 champions. Top is like 15 out of 31, jungle is 12, mid again 15 out of 31, and AD carry is 14. Support again 12 out of 31. So again, the most games are being played on only 2 champions. It's actually insane. So we can actually go into more specifics again in this region, like champions that have similar identity and putting them together, or like playstyles like Olaf, Volibear, Leona, Rel, and you would end up with even a higher rate of like similar champions that are being played. So as such, finding answers to these champions, and just 2 of them will, again, against these 10 champions then in total, will give you a great advantage over the most likely picks the enemy will play if he's just going for comfort. And it's a good start to think about the matchups that are going to happen way before they actually happen. Another side note that you obviously have to pay attention to is if there's a champion that is permabanned. So that will obviously not be recorded in the match history if you check like pro builds or whatever. So if a champion is permabanned against this player, like Ruler's Callisto for example, he has only played it 5 times, so wouldn't really pay too much attention to it. But it is like nearly 100% ban rate, and just on a side note, these 5 games were all wins, so has a 100% win rate as well. So these champions, you might not really pay attention to them if you look at most played, but obviously they're very important, super important. So you have to pay attention to that. That can be a bit of a hassle because you have to take some extra steps, but you will obviously know about them if you pay attention. With these potential counter picks that you have now in mind after the talks with your players, and the already comfort picks that they have in their toolkit, you have now another issue that you have to keep in mind. So obviously in the pick ban process, the enemy is not blindly picking their side and then you can counter pick. No, it's the hip and top. So you have to reveal some of your champions and the enemy has the chance to counter pick them. So what you're going to do about that? And you use the chance of flex picks. So flex picks are very good. You can trick your opponents and evade bad matchups. So first off, you want to look if your players already have shared champions in their pools. This is a good start, but in most cases there are many more champions that you want to flex in certain position. Example again, Karma, who can go in up to 4 positions. Now, often you hear some concerns that now arise about the depths of your players' champion pools, right? They can't play all champions at once, and especially not at the top level. So in these cases, you have to pay attention, because I'm proposing like a simple idea here. Your champions, your players don't have to play all champions, and for every laner, I would say you have up to 3 comfort and meta picks, 2 picks that they prepare as counters to either meta picks or to the specific matchups, and 2 flex picks that they can share with other champions and other players. So in most cases, I have to add here mid, top, and the bot AD carry. It would be helpful if they have 3 flex picks in their champion. For the other positions, jungle and support, it can be kind of difficult, but that depends on the meta. So you have to be a bit on the lookout for that. So this means in total your entire roster only has to play 38 champions, which again 7 to 8 champions per player. I think that is a reasonable amount if you consider that they play the entire day. And just a reminder, obviously here, these champions that your players have in their pools need to work together. So for example, if your top laner only plays red champions, then this forces your entire team to also have multiple red champions in their pool. So if you draft then a red champion for your top laner, the rest can follow up. You again don't want to have these deep contrasts in your comp, because then again stage 0, it doesn't work, it's not beneficial, it will hurt you in the long run and in the entire game. So how would you go about and solve this issue about what champion identity should you be on the lookout for? Again, simple, fast, look at the meta and then look at the different laners. Okay, in which lane is the meta the most? like stagnant and most normalized, whereas there's little deviation in terms of identity. Examples would obviously be control mages in the mid lane. So they are very similar, all in theme, right? Usually blue champions with a bit of white, sometimes a bit of green in there. Again, depends on the variation of control mage. So this is already something you have in your mid lane, and mid lane especially is a cornerstone. And then on this cornerstone, you can build up from there. So if you know that your mid laner is blue-white, then obviously you're not going for red comp. A red top laner, a red bot laner, whatever, is already not a great sign. So again, I would recommend going from there. What is the meta most normalized in one position, and then reach out from there for the other positions as well. This rounds up the standard preparation part for drafts. There are some details that might become relevant against specific opponents who have certain behaviors in the game or in the pick ban phase, or there are nuances or you go about certain steps in this stage. But yeah, I'm not overextending my time here on this video, so I will keep it at that. And again, remember, this is not a cure-all universal solution, but it's an approach I would recommend, and it can be done in multiple matters as of now. So yeah, this will be the first part of this stage, and similar to the stage 0, I will do a second part of this stage where I go about an accurate example of a draft preparation using the T1 versus Genji best of 5 of the recent LCK spring playoffs. So if you're interested in that, you might want to subscribe not to miss that video should it come out in the following days. But for today, this is it. I wish you all a great day. Till next time.